This is day 7 of the February 94 7-day retreat in Springwater. As we usually do, we will read today from different authors. There are 4 spiritual teachers: Wang Po, who lived in China 1,000 years ago; Nisargadatta and Krishnamurti, who lived almost at the same time, died within 2 years of each other in the 80s, both born in India; Vimalataka, who is still alive in India. And we will read from the poetry of Ryokan, who was born in the late 18th century, and Mary Oliver, who is a contemporary poet. Maybe we'll do it chronologically. This book is called The Teaching of Wang Po on the Transmission of the Mind, translated by John Blofeld and gathered by Wang Po's disciple Chen Su. Chen Su was a scholar, a Buddhist scholar, and also the governor of the province where Wang Po taught. Wang Po was, by tradition, a Buddhist, so you will have Buddhist terms in here every once in a while. The word Buddha not referring just to the historical Gautama Buddha, but to enlightened beings. The Master said to me, all the Buddhas and all sentient beings are nothing but the one mind, beside which nothing exists. This mind which is without beginning is unborn and indestructible. It is not green nor yellow and has neither form nor appearance. It does not belong to the categories of things which exist or do not exist, nor can it be thought of in terms of new or old. It is neither long nor short, big nor small, for it transcends all limits, all measures, names, traces, and comparisons. It is that which you see before you. Begin to reason about it and you at once fall into error. It is like the boundless void which cannot be fathomed or measured. The one mind alone is the Buddha, and there is no distinction between the Buddha and sentient beings, but that sentient beings are attached to forms and so seek externally for Buddhahood. By their very seeking they lose it, for that is using the Buddha to seek the Buddha, using mind to grasp mind. Even though they do their utmost for a full eon, they will not be able to attain to it. They do not know that if they put a stop to conceptual thought and forget their anxiety, the Buddha will appear before them. For this mind is the Buddha, and the Buddha is all living beings. It is not the less for being manifested in ordinary beings, nor is it greater for being manifested in the Buddhas. Mind is like the void in which there is no confusion or evil, as when the sun wheels through it, shining upon the 4 corners of the world. For when the sun rises and illuminates the whole earth, the void gains not in brilliance. And when the sun sets, the void does not darken. The phenomena of light and dark alternate with each other. but the nature of the void remains unchanged. So it is with the mind of the Buddha and of sentient beings. If you look upon the Buddha as presenting a pure, bright, or enlightened appearance, or upon sentient beings as presenting a foul, dark, or mortal-seeming appearance, these conceptions resulting from attachment to form will keep you from supreme knowledge, even after passing of as many eons as there are sands in the Ganges. There is only the one mind, and not a particle of anything else on which to lay hold. If you students of the way do not awake to this mind substance, you will overlay mind with conceptual thought. You will seek the Buddha outside yourselves, and you will remain attached to forms, pious practices, and so on, all of which are harmful and not at all the way of supreme knowledge. Our original nature is, in highest truth, devoid of any atom of objectivity. It is void, omnipresent, silent, pure. It is glorious and mysterious, peaceful joy. And that is all. Enter deeply into it by awakening to it yourself. That which is before you is it in all its fullness, utterly complete. There is naught beside. Even if you go through all the stages of progress toward Buddhahood, one by one, when at last in a single flash you attain to realization, you will only be realizing the nature which has been with you all the time. And by all the foregoing stages, you will have added nothing to it at all. You will come to look upon those eons of work and achievement as no better than unreal actions performed in a dream. Once I put this question to the Master: how many of the 400 or 500 persons gathered here on this mountain have fully understood your Reverence's teaching? The Master answered, their number cannot be known. Why? Because this way is through mind awakening. How can it be conveyed in words? Speech only produces some effect when it falls on the uninstructed ears of children. Your true nature is something never lost to you even in moments of delusion, nor is it gained at the moment of enlightenment. It depends on nothing and is attached to nothing. It is all-pervading, spotless beauty. It is the self-existent and uncreated absolute. It is a jewel beyond all price. I'll read this one next. It fits so well. This is by Nisargadatta, a book called I Am That. It's a collection of dialogues, translated by Maurice Friedman. I think these collections are from the 70s. And this one is called Obsession with a Body. The questioner says, this is his way of appellation, Maharaj, you're sitting in front of me and I'm here at your feet. What is the basic difference between us? Nisargadatta, there is no basic difference. Questioner, still there must be some real difference. I come to you, you do not come to me. Because you imagine differences, you go here and there in search of superior people. Questioner, you too are a superior person. You claim to know the real while I do not. Maharaj, did I ever tell you that you do not know and therefore you are inferior? Let those who invented such distinctions prove them. I do not claim to know what you do not. In fact, I know much less than you do. Questioner, your words are wise, your behavior noble, your grace all-powerful. Nisargadatta, I know nothing about it all and see no difference between you and me. My life is a succession of events just like yours. Only I am detached and see the passing show as a passing show, while you stick to things and move along with them. Questioner, what made you so dispassionate? Nisargadatta, nothing in particular. It so happened that I trusted my guru. He told me I am nothing but myself, and I believed him. Now, self in the Indian tradition is used just like Wangpo as one mind. It's all that's there when there is no me. That's called the self. So the teacher told me I am nothing but myself, and I believed him. Trusting him, I behaved accordingly and ceased caring for what was not me or mine. Questioner, why were you so lucky to trust your teacher fully, while our trust is nominal and verbal? Nisargadatta, who can say? It happened so. Things happen without cause and reason, and after all, what does it matter who is who? Your high opinion of me is your opinion only. Any moment you may change it. Why attach importance to opinions, even your own? Questioner, still you're different. Your mind seems to be always quiet and happy, and miracles happen around you. Nisargadatta, I know nothing about miracles, and I wonder whether nature admits exceptions to her laws, unless we agree that everything is a miracle. As to my mind, there is no such thing. There is consciousness in which everything happens. Come in. There is consciousness in which everything happens. It is quite obvious and within the experience of everybody. You just do not look carefully enough. Look well and see what I see. Questioner, what do you see? Nisargadatta, I see what you too could see, here and now, but for the wrong focus of your attention. You give attention to yourself. No, you give no attention to yourself. This is again your true nature, or this one mind. You give no attention to yourself. Your mind is all with things, peoples, and ideas, never with yourself. Bring yourself into focus, become aware of your own existence. See how you function, watch the motives and the results of your actions. Study the prison you have built around yourself by inadvertence. By knowing what you are not, you come to know yourself. By knowing what you are not. We talked at great length about identity yesterday. Pictures, possessions, and so forth. By knowing what you are not, you come to know yourself. The way back to yourself is through refusal and rejection. One thing is certain, the real is not imaginary, it is not a product of the mind. Even the sense I am is not continuous, though it is a useful pointer. It shows where to seek, but not what to seek. Just have a good look at it. Once you are convinced that you cannot truthfully say Once you're convinced that you cannot say truthfully about yourself anything except I am, and that nothing that can be pointed at can be yourself, the need for the I am is over. You're no longer intent on verbalizing what you are. All you need is to get rid of the tendency to define yourself. All definitions apply to your body only and to its expressions. Once this obsession with the body goes, you will revert to your natural state, spontaneously and effortlessly. The only difference between us is that I'm aware of my natural state while you are bemused. Just like gold made into ornaments has no advantage over gold dust, except when the mind makes it so, so we are one in being. We differ only in appearances. We discover it by being earnest, by searching, inquiring, questioning daily and hourly, by giving one's life to this discovery. Here's a passage from a collection compiled by the Krishnamurti Foundation, India. This one originated in Bombay in 1955. Question: what is the self-knowledge of which you speak, and how can I acquire it? Krishnamurti: it is very simple, sir. The first step is the last step in self-knowledge. The beginning is the end. The first step is what matters, because self-knowledge is not something you can learn from another. No one can teach you self-knowledge. You have to find out for yourself. It must be your own discovery. And that discovery is not something tremendous, fantastic. It is very simple. After all, to know yourself is to watch your behavior, your words, what you do in your everyday relationships. That is all. Begin with that, and you will see how extraordinarily difficult it is to be aware, just to watch the manner of your behavior, the words you use to your servant, to your boss, the attitude you have with regard to people, to ideas, and to things. Just watch your thoughts, your motives in the mirror of relationship, and you will see that the moment you watch, you want to correct what you see. You say, this is good and that is bad, I must do this and not that. When you see yourself in the mirror of relationship, your approach is one of condemnation or justification. Therefore, you distort what you see. Whereas, if you simply observe in that mirror your attitude with regard to people, to ideas, and to things, if you just see the fact without judgment, without condemnation or acceptance, then you will find that that very perception has its own action. That is the beginning of self-knowledge. To watch yourself, to observe what you do, what you think, what your motives and incentives are, and yet not condemn or justify, is an extraordinarily difficult thing to do. Because our whole culture is based on condemnation, judgment, and evaluation. You have been brought up to do this and don't do that. But if you can look in the mirror of relationship without creating the opposite, means seeing something and says, I should be the opposite, then you will find that there is no end to self-knowledge. You see, the inquiry into self-knowledge is an outward movement which later turns inward. First we look at the stars, and then we look within ourselves. In the same way, we look for reality, for God, for security, for happiness in the objective world. And when it is not found there, we turn inward. This search for the inner God, the higher self, or what you will, completely ceases through self-knowledge. And then the mind becomes very quiet, not through discipline, but just through understanding, through watching, through being aware of itself every minute without choice. Don't say, I must be aware every minute, because that is just another manifestation of our foolishness when we want to get somewhere, when we want to arrive at a particular state. What matters is to be aware of yourself and to keep on being aware without accumulating, because the moment you accumulate, from that center you judge. Self-knowledge is not a process of accumulation. It is a process of discovery from moment to moment in relationship. Vimalataka, From Being and Becoming, talks given in India in 89. We are talking about an alternative way of living, which is a meditative way of living. Acquire knowledge, let it flow through you, let it be utilized in its relevant field without creating a knower. If we look at the roots of all human misery, we will find that misery is built upon our stupidity. We do not know how to relate to the structures and use them without identification, without creating a sense of authority out of them. Structures are not sacred. It is only life that is sacred. Patterns have no sacredness, whether you create them in the name of religion, spirituality, or politics. It is the pattern-free, structure-free, virgin dynamism of life that is sacred, that is divine. Wherever you have touched it with thought, you have manipulated it, you have structured it. It has a utility, but not sanctity. It has a utility, but no authority. An alternative way of living is feeding the brain and the system with all the knowledge, the techniques, without getting identified with it. It is only identification with the knowledge that creates an illusion of the knower. It is the creation of a knower that builds up your bondage. Knowledge itself has no power to bind you. It is the creation of the knower that is the obstacle. You have a beautiful sensitive body, and the sensitivity gets into touch with its respective objects outside, and they bring you sensations. Sensations are converted back to electric impulses, and the brain interprets them. It is a marvelous process, what you call experiencing. Contact with the outside world through the senses, which are very delicate, very tender. It is quite hard and arduous work to keep your sensual system pure, healthy, supple, and elastic. Let the experiences flow through the sensual system. Nothing wrong in a sensual sexual experience. But you create an experiencer, and you get stuck in the experience and its likes and dislikes, its value structures, its preferences, its prejudices, its theories. If the sensual contact with objects is allowed to flow through you without creating an experiencer, then the limited human-made world cannot corrupt you. As the oneness of life manifesting itself into manyness does not get corrupted, does not lose its vitality, does not get mutilated. The oneness of life manifesting in multiplicity. That's what she's talking about. In the same way you acquire knowledge and you appear as an individual, playing the role of a father, a mother, a brother, sister, a son or daughter, you are one appearing as many. There's no identification with the fatherness, the sonness, the daughterness, the sisterness, and you don't tie so many knots inside, but play the roles sanely, completely with the magnificence of an inner equipoise. Then you're appearing as many, functioning as many. You're acquiring the knowledge of structures, and handling of structures shall not corrupt you. In the human-made world, one has to learn to let the knowledge flow without creating a knower, and let the experiences take place without creating an experiencer, which is, of course, the operation of thought and image. That is the way of meditative living. The word meditation has been identified with psychophysical exercises, concentrations, methods, techniques, kundalini, shakti paths. The word has been abused and misused in such many ways. Silence is inner unconditional freedom from the authority of the past. Silence is unconditional freedom from effort, and therefore the alternative way of living. Meditation has no repetition at all. It is moment to moment. In the moment of relating, you are living. In the moment of aloneness, you are dying. It is living and dying, like inhaling and exhaling. To be alone is to die to the sense of being somebody or being something. Is not that the content of death and dying? To be alone is to die to the sense of being somebody. Sinner, saint, holy, knowledgeable, respected, rich, and so forth. To be alone is to die to being something according to the definition of society, according to the value structure of religions. Physically isolating yourself may not lead you to the aloneness. It may or it may not. That's what we're afraid of, dying to the sense of being somebody. Dying to all the images that you have built up about yourself is being alone. The way we are tackling the theme may be unusual, unheard of to many. It is a non-conventional way, a non-traditional approach. But I'm really grateful that life brings you and me together. So after all the work, let's have some poetry. This is One Robe, One Bowl, Zen poetry of Ryokan, translated by John Stevens. Ryokan was a hermit poet, lived in the mountains year-round. This is called The Long Winter Night. 3 poems. The long winter night. The long winter night seems endless. When will it be day? No flame in the lamp, nor charcoal in the fireplace. Lying in bed, listening to the sound of freezing rain. To an old man, dreams come easy. I let my thoughts drift. The room is empty, and both the sake and the oil are used up. The long winter night. When I was a boy studying in an empty hall, over and over I had to fill the lamp with oil. Even now that task is disagreeable. The long winter night. "1,000 peaks covered with frozen snow, 10,000 mountain paths, yet no sign of human beings. Every day only zazen, which is sitting. Sometimes the sound of snow blowing against the window. Concealed in a dense forest, my hut lies far beyond the village river. 1,000 peaks, 10,000 mountain streams, yet no sign of anyone. A long, cold winter's night. Slowly a piece of wood burns in the fireplace. Nothing can be heard except the sound of snow striking the window. Who can sympathize with my life? My hut lies near the top of a mountain, and the path leading here is covered with weeds. On the fence, a single gourd. From across the river, the sound of logging. Ill, I lie on the pillow and watch the sun rise. A bird cries in the distance. My only consolation. Drinking sweet sake with the farmers until our eyebrows are white with snow. Late at night, listening to the winter rain, recalling my youth. Was it only a dream? Was I really young once? The hour grows late, but the sound of hail striking the bamboo keeps me from sleep. And another blizzard. The mountains are covered with deep snow. From now on, news from town must wait till spring. Wind and snow, then snow and rain. Tonight awakened by the cry of a wild goose in the dark, endless winter sky. Lying in my freezing hut, unable to sleep. Only the quiet roar of water pouring over a cliff. I lie down near the hearth and stretch out my feet to the fire, but still the cold pierces my belly. No begging in the town again today. The snow falls and falls. Late at night the snow is piling higher and higher, muffling the sound of the waterfall. The freezing morning rain has let up. What should I do? Fetch water? Chop firewood? Gather wintergreens? In the shadow of the mountains, the firewood burns, brightening my cold little grass hut. Winter will soon be over. Please, please come visit my grass hut. My heart beats faster and faster, and I cannot sleep. Tomorrow will be the first day of spring. Lying on my grass pillow, dreaming about this dream world again, lonely, fitful sleep. As I watch the children happily playing, without realizing it, my eyes fill with tears. Thinking about the people in this floating world far into the night, my sleeve is wet with tears. A thief has stolen my cushion and mat. Why did he break into my hermitage? The door is never locked. The night is ending, and I sit alone by the window. A sparse rain falls gently against the bamboo grove. The thief left it behind, the moon at the window. This book is called New and Selected Poems by Mary Oliver. Can't get away from the snow. Here it comes. First snow. The snow began here this morning, and all day continued its white rhetoric everywhere, calling us back to why, how, whence such beauty, and what the meaning. Such an oracular fever, flowing past windows, an energy it seemed would never ebb, never settle less than lovely. And only now, deep into night, it has finally ended. The silence is immense, and the heavens still hold 1,000,000 candles. Nowhere the familiar things, stars, the moon, the darkness we expect and nightly turn from. Trees glitter like castles of ribbons. The broad fields smolder with light. A passing creek bed lies heaped with shining hills. And though the questions that have assailed us all day remain, not a single answer has been found. Walking out now into the silence and the light under the trees and through the fields feels like one. When death comes like the hungry bear in autumn, when death comes and takes all the bright coins from his purse to buy me, and snaps the purse shut, when death comes like the measlepox, when death comes like an iceberg between the shoulder blades, I want to step through the door full of curiosity, wondering, what is it going to be like, that cottage of darkness? And therefore I look upon everything as a brotherhood and a sisterhood. And I look upon time as no more than an idea. And I consider eternity as another possibility. And I think of each life as a flower, as common as a field daisy, and as singular. And each name a comfortable music in the mouth, tending as all music does toward silence. And each body a lion of courage and something precious to the earth. When it's over, I want to say, all my life I was a bride married to amazement. I was the bridegroom taking the world into my arms. When it's over, I don't want to wonder if I have made of my life something particular and real. I don't want to find myself sighing and frightened or full of argument. I don't want to end up simply having visited this world. Some questions you might ask. Is the soul solid, like iron? Or is it tender and breakable, like the wings of a moth in the beak of the owl? Who has it and who doesn't? I keep looking around me. The face of the moose is as sad as the face of Jesus. The swan opens her white wings slowly. In the fall, the black bear carries leaves into the darkness. One question leads to another. Does it have a shape? Like an iceberg? Like the eye of a hummingbird? Does it have one lung, like the snake and the scallop? Why should I have it and not the anteater who loves her children? Why should I have it and not the camel? Come to think of it, what about the maple trees? What about the blue iris? What about all the little stones sitting alone in the moonlight? What about roses and lemons and their shining leaves? What about the grass? Singapore. In Singapore, in the airport, a darkness was ripped from my eyes. In the women's restroom, one compartment stood open. A woman knelt there washing something in the white bowl. Disgust argued in my stomach, and I felt in my pocket for my ticket. A poem should always have birds in it. Kingfishers say with their bold eyes and gaudy wings. Rivers are pleasant, and of course trees. A waterfall, or if that's not possible, a fountain rising and falling. A person wants to stand in a happy place in a poem. When the woman turned, I could not answer her face. Her beauty and her embarrassment struggled together, and neither could win. She smiled and I smiled. What kind of nonsense is this? Everybody needs a job. Yes, a person wants to stand in a happy place in a poem. But first we must watch her as she stares down at her labor, which is dull enough. She is washing the tops of the airport ashtrays, as big as hubcaps, with a blue rag. Her small hands turn the metal, scrubbing and rinsing. She does not work slowly nor quickly, but like a river. Her dark hair is like the wing of a bird. I don't doubt for a moment that she loves her life. And I want her to rise up from the crust and the slop and fly down to the river. This probably won't happen, but maybe it will. If the world were only pain and logic, who would want it? Of course it isn't. Neither do I mean anything miraculous, but only the light that can shine out of a life. I mean the way she unfolded and refolded the blue cloth. The way her smile was only for my sake. I mean the way this poem is filled with trees and birds. White owl flies into and out of the field. Coming down out of the freezing sky with its depths of light like an angel or a Buddha with wings, it was beautiful and accurate, striking the snow and whatever was there with a force that left the imprint of the tips of its wings, 5 feet apart, and the grabbing thrust of its feet, and the indentation of what had been running through the white valleys of the snow. And then it rose gracefully and flew back to the frozen marshes to lurk there like a little lighthouse in the blue shadows. So I thought, maybe death isn't darkness after all, but so much light wrapping itself around us as soft as feathers, that we're instantly weary of looking and shut our eyes, not without amazement, and let ourselves be carried as through the translucence of mica to the river that is without the least dapple or shadow. That is nothing but light, scalding aortal light, in which we are washed and washed out of our bodies. The summer day. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean, the one who has flung herself out of the grass, the one who is eating sugar out of my hand, who's moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down, who's gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I've been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? We will end here for today.